Hello, hello. Welcome to the Thoughtful Age podcast. And today I have a great guest whose name is Jake Ward, and he is the founder of CEO of Data Protocol, the development platform that helps developers to work more efficiently and effectively. And Jake spends a lot of his years and careers working on policies and regulations, and even had the chance to work in the U.S. Senate for some time on that matter. So, Jake, could you please briefly introduce yourself and tell us about your entrepreneurial journey as well and vision?
Sure, of course. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Jake Ward. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Data Protocol. As you said, we're a platform that helps developers get the information they need, the resources that they rely on in a faster, more effective format. Gives them the support that they've been looking for while bridging the gap between the companies, the platforms that rely on and invest in their success. We launched officially 2.5 years ago, but this is the byproduct of decades of work. I was a much younger man when this process began. And to your point about the entrepreneurial journey, I think it begins anytime you realize that you don't want to work for other people. And then you're on a journey to find an idea worthy of pursuing, and more importantly, entrusting to other people, your team, your staff, the people that stand with you and support your dream and make it part of their life's work. That's the journey. Those are the people you want to be on that long walk with.
Yeah, and then like you stop working for your boss, but then you start working for your client and your employees, and you still work for other people.
My father
But
was a house painter in northern Maine, where it snows a lot and rains even more. And he would tell me all the time that when the sun shines, you go to work because that's where they expect you to be. And so he
yeah,
worked 7 days a week
yeah,
for 40 years.
yeah. What else are you gonna do?
That's
Anyway,
right. That's the gig.
so uh, can you share some maybe strategies you used during navigating those early stage of building a company and maintaining growth and innovation is also an essence, especially when you're kind of a startup trying to pave your way up and find your customers and build a team and so on and so forth. So please tell us about that.
I'll do you one better. I'll share two strategies. One that is doomed to fail, and I urge everybody to hear me and never to follow in these footsteps. But when you are early days of a company, of a project, startups of any kind, the idea that you have the answers or that you know best should be abandoned very quickly. You can start with an idea, you can start with inspiration, you should start with faith and a belief that you figured it out or that you could provide value, but you do not have a monopoly on a good idea. And the idea that you can solve everything is a fool's errand. You need to leave that behind. That the arrogance of that, the hubris will lead you to put yourself in positions where you're asking too much of yourself, you're asking too little of other people, you're not conveying ownership, you're not driving buy-in, and the results can be problematic. Fortunately for me, I surrounded myself with incredibly smart people who took the reins away from me as soon as possible on things that I wasn't ready to do, from ops and admin and other components, until I was in a better headspace where I could stop being a product lead or even a sort of marketing sales and focus on the executive side of my job. This is by far the best job I've ever had, and I've had some pretty cool jobs in my career. But the core of being, I think, any sort of manager, but certainly being a CEO, it seems to me, is to make choices until it's time to make decisions. And that understanding you are not always the person who's most qualified to make that choice is the key to our success. Certainly, it drives innovation and ownership around here. And for me, it keeps me sane. I'll be the arbiter of final decisions, but long before it ever gets to my desk, it will have gotten better and had the inefficiency pushed out of it. And those choices that people make on the way will have their fingerprints all over it, which means that it brings their intelligence, their experience, their specific set of skills to the table, and then that way nobody gets left behind.
Yeah, yeah, and it's true for every leadership position as well. Like your humbleness, your ability to listen to other people, and like not perceive yourself as the most smart man in the room, definitely helps a lot.
If you're the smartest person in the room, get up and walk out. That room is not doing you
Yeah,
any good.
you're in the wrong room. Definitely, you
You're in
don't
the
learn
wrong room.
anything. And, like, yeah, you don't challenge yourself enough either.
I'm
And
not even the smartest person in the room right now, and I'm the only one in here.
okay, thank you. Anyway, uh, can you tell us about like how you find an inspiration like for the idea that you just take and go out there and start like maybe pitching people and telling them about something that you believe? Like what is the first kind of spark that motivated you to do so?
So I've spoken with a lot of entrepreneurs, frankly, a lot of failed entrepreneurs who started a process to solve their own problem. Right? I hate it when X. I love it when Y. And then they try to build an experience that decreases one or increases another. I don't know that I've ever met anybody that successfully did that. That the individualized problem is not scalable and therefore can't be successful. Certainly there's the apocryphal I needed to get a cab and it was 3 a.m. and so I invented Uber. But that's not how it happened. That isn't real. The spark almost always comes from a there has to be a better way. I see
Hmm.
this thing, there has to be a better way to achieve it. The incremental innovation leads to success, right? Uber didn't invent getting in the back of a car and driving somewhere, it invented that app powered experience to do the thing. We're all trying to achieve scalable success, not for an exit or $100 million or $1 billion valuations, but because that's how you build a business around a thing that you can be passionate about, that you can create sustainability around an idea. For me, the inspiration came from the audience that we now serve, the developers, the people who are building the digital age are misunderstood, often commoditized, largely ignored, rarely supported in the way that they need to be. And I got firsthand looks at that 2010, 2011, 2012 when I started the Application Developers Alliance. And then every year thereafter, it got worse and worse as the workforce got bigger, as the entrepreneurial pool of coders got bigger. The gap between what they needed and what they were getting got wider and wider. And I think that my experience and my proximity to them actually made me uniquely qualified to do this thing because of my time in politics, because of my time in advocacy, and around hundreds of thousands of coders over the course of a decade or so, I can go in both directions, right? I can speak the language of developers and the resources they need and understand the challenges they face, but also the companies that are investing in them that need them to be successful as customers, stakeholders, users, whatever that structure is. Are you an open source product? Are you a platform? Are you ad driven? What does the API look like? What's the premium model, et cetera? I can interpret that because I've been on the front lines with those guys for years, but it's the developers that inspire all of us. Everybody in this building right now is working to put the best, most empathetic product in front of as many developers as possible to make their lives a little easier, make their products a little better.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar. Like, as I'm myself has an engineering background and started as just a software developer in one company, and sometimes, like in different positions, like you would feel that, oh, they don't treat us well enough, they don't listen to engineers enough, and they don't consider their input while making the decisions, and sometimes that's a bit confusing, I would say, and sometimes you might even feel offended or sad about what is happening. And can you please give us some examples how the data protocol helps developer be more productive and attached to the overall goals of the company, and how it is aligning with the all business and customers' expectations.
Let me give you the example that's top of mind because we're pushing more content out today. MetaQuest, which is a division of Meta Global, obviously, that does virtual reality and increasingly augmented reality, has thousands of partners, people that build on their SDK, that put the apps in the store on the goggles. That's part of the experience. They've built an ecosystem around this technology. But this is hard. This is complicated stuff. There is hundreds of pages of developer documentation. There are thousands of conversations happening between developers, between companies and design studios and managing partners and the folks at MetaQuest trying to help those guys, as well as some pretty significant milestones around data management and compliance in terms of service and validation and verification around who you are and that you're able to protect users. This is a pretty intense and intimate experience. We have to do the best we can to support these users and their privacy and their security and their safety. So we help MetaQuest deliver this information on video in a more interactive, more condensed, more engaging way that drives proficiency, that drives retention, and generally removes the barriers to folks that want to get back to building really cool stuff. They didn't sign up to go through and jump. I mean, technically, I guess they signed up to jump through the hoops, but they didn't know they were signing up to jump through the hoops before they started the process. But it is now in front of them a line of hoops that they will have to get through before they can show their product to the world. We want to get them back to building cool stuff and entertaining people and delivering value. And MetaQuest wants to ensure the safety of their users, of their shared users, while also being a good partner. We can be that bridge because data protocol, as I said, leads with empathy and drives value at every turn. We think about the end user. Our allegiance is to their speed, to their happiness, to their engagement. And the end result is just a better way to deliver information.
I see. You mentioned multiple times like happiness of the people and engagement, and it sounds like those are some of the core values of your company that you're building. Can you elaborate a bit on that as well?
When you show a developer the data protocol interface, the look on their face when they see that it was built for them is the most pride that I get out of anything that we do. Certainly, the content is great. I love doing deals. I love building the company. I love the people I work with. Putting this product in front of somebody who is not used to having things designed specifically for them. Small note here. I remember not that long ago when a very large company told me that a web property that they built that was for developers looked like crap on purpose because that's what developers expected. And I said, it's what they expected because it's what you keep giving them. They certainly deserve better than that, right? You would never show this to a customer. You'd never show it to any other stakeholder. You wouldn't show it to your finance team, but you're more than happy having a black screen with yellow cursor language just running down the side of it because you're confused by a terminal environment in dark mode being ugly. So you're showing them an ugly interface thinking that's what they want. It's not what they want. They want highly engaging. They want designed specifically for them. They want hyperactive, hands-on keyboards. It's not like they haven't told us how they want to work and learn. And so when I show the platform to a developer and they get this moment of, oh, I've been seen, this is what the result of it looks like, that just it fills me with pride. So call it happiness, call it delight, surprise is what it is mostly, but it is core to the way that we design products.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, and because ultimately it is all about people, about their emotions and experiences, and definitely everyone wants to be like heard, everyone wants to be valued and appreciated, and if the company is built on this kind of set of base pillars, this is definitely a huge win for everyone, and. Like, would you say that those values are having a huge impact on your company, or like what do you think about the values of the companies in general? Are they useful?
I think they're certainly useful. I think they're also contagious, right? I think the idea. So in our company, physical four walls, but also in the company in general, um, you can come and go anytime you want to, right? We have sort of open hours, but if you've got a thing, go. There's not a process by which you say to your boss, I have a doctor's appointment kind of thing. But what I ask of everybody is before you leave for the day, you turn to the person next to you and you say, is there anything else I can do for you today? That the idea of being supportive, of being a partner, of being a good partner is core to what we're building, and being supportive of each other is core to how we work.
Mm.
So 5:30, 6 o'clock, you hear this chorus around the building of, before I take off, is there anything else I can do for you today? And it fills me with pride, not just because that's something that's important to me, but because they're building a team, right? They're building an environment in which they have each other's backs. This doesn't have to be a fire drill. This isn't hyper urgent, but everything we do should matter. And that's a big part of why we come to work every day.
Yeah, this is, and I definitely see how this improves the relationship between the teammates and between different people. Like in general in the company, maybe they wouldn't talk to each other because they work in different departments. But if they have this kind of willing to help each other, they would become more close. They will have more empathy towards each other and toward clients as well, which will definitely help business grow and flourish.
We
Yeah.
also we have
Uh,
an open door audit policy on any internal meeting. So regardless of what department you're in, if you see something on the calendar or you see a meeting that's going on that's internal and you want to drop in, have at it. Go on in.
well, I like it. That's very cool. So switching gears a bit, you mentioned that you have experience working at the U.S. Senate and advising on some data policies and some compliance stuff, and looking at the tech industry now and all of those rapid development of AI and different regulations. How do you think entrepreneurs and different firms and companies can better engage with the policymaking processes with the lawmakers?
It's a good and sort of long-standing question. It's evergreen in many ways. I worked for Olympia Snow in 2006, 2007 in the Senate when the first net neutrality fight was going on, and Google was a major player, proponent of neutrality, obviously, as this reauthorization bill was going through. And if anybody who remembers the Senator Ted Stevens jumping up and down saying the internet is not a dump truck, it's a series of tubes, that clip is from the Commerce Committee hearing on net neutrality in 2006. That's when I got my first taste of tech companies, the Valley, mattering in Washington. And it's when tech companies got their first taste that Washington was going to matter to them. A lot has changed since then, but more has stayed the same. I've worked doing specific tech advocacy work on a number of campaigns and on public affairs campaigns for, I guess, 5 years before I started the Application Developers Alliance. And what I saw over and over and over again is that the gears of public policy and the gears of innovation never mesh, right? Innovation is supposed to go really fast. It's small cycles, it goes really quickly, whereas public policy, state and federal, is intended to go slowly. It's part of the deal so that you don't make really costly long-term mistakes. If those gears ever mesh and something effective comes together, it's almost a mistake. It's rarely by design. And we're
Hmm.
seeing it over and over again, most recently with AI, right? Do you think the US Senate has any idea what to do with AI? The Valley doesn't know what to do with AI. You know,
Nobody does.
if you work in the industry and you can predict where this is going, you're lying. Certainly, an 83-year-old senator from Connecticut has no idea what's going to happen in this space. they can and they should put up guardrails. That's the gig. That's the job. That's what you are elected to do. But the truth is, most of that policy has to be administered at the agency level where there are subject matter experts and where people have enforcement power. And all of the law you need in order to crack down on misuse and malfeasance and mistakes is already in place and has been for 100 years. It's like all the ongoing fights over competition issue, as if the competition laws weren't enough to break up Standard Oil and the Bells the first time. That law is on the books. You don't need new stuff to make abuse of power real. You certainly don't need new laws
Mm.
to give the FTC to do this. It's a soapbox that I should probably stay off. But the point is that as an entrepreneur, you should look at public policy as an opportunity to bridge a divide, but also to supersede standards. If you see privacy on the horizon, do better privacy. If you see data management or encryption or a better consumer experience on the horizon, go build that, because it's very likely government is going to go slowly and probably water down the end result. It's not a mistake that we don't have a federal privacy bill, but Apple is stealing market share at every corner by saying they're a privacy company. That's not a coincidence.
I see. I see. No, that makes a lot of sense, uh, and I see how companies can adapt. And if we are talking about the slowness of making those decisions, that definitely makes enough gap for companies to make those alignments, to be prepared for those upcoming changes in the policies, in laws, and everything. And and they can still contribute to the conversation as well, right? They can also go publish their opinions, reach out to uh, different people who are engaged and working on those or different policy making process. And
There's always a seat at the table. Policymakers want to hear, particularly from entrepreneurs, from successful startups, small businesses, particularly in their districts, specifically if they are issue adjacent, right? If you can have a conversation about why it matters, how you're building jobs or building momentum. What we should avoid, though, is what we see more and more, which is called regulatory capture, is that after a market is created, after a technology is put in place, then a law is written to stop innovation on top of it, and that's how you end up with AT&T and Verizon. And now they're media companies? Like, how did that
mm,
happen? It's because they couldn't expand their tech footprint anymore. And so through merger and acquisition, they're now part of larger media empires. That's thanks to the federal government.
yeah, yeah, I see. Uh, but anyway, like I'm pretty optimistic on that matter, and hopefully all the input that people are making and contribute to all the current development of AI regulations and other data privacy laws wouldn't have the situation much worse than it is. But will just help us to be more secured, more prepared for any upcoming changes, and uh, like be more efficient ultimately at our jobs. And looking ahead, uh, what do you think is the next thing for developer, for engineers, for developers, and considering this AI stuff everywhere? Like I think you and Data Protocol also consider some of those upcoming capabilities and changes for how developers work and how they do their jobs. Like, what is your thinking on that?
I think that the future of software engineering, software design generally looks an awful lot like the past at its fundamental level. It's trial and error, it's collaboration, it's try to go fast, it's figuring out where you're moving inside a technology, and it's constant learning. Right? One of the things that is fundamental to being a successful developer of software is that you never stop learning how to build software. Better, faster, considerations, tools, integrations, all of that. AI, particularly, is making it easier to answer questions without getting yelled at Stack Exchange and Reddit. You know, you know this as a enterprise developer, you're standing on the line building stuff, you have a question, you turn to the person next to you and say, have you ever seen this before? And then with the advent of instant messenger, it's, hey, have you ever seen this before? So now you're doing it across the country. And then Stack Exchange, not surprisingly, founded and built by a guy who was at Microsoft when they started using the chat functionality to have those conversations. And then Reddit builds out this. But when Copilot launches, Stack Exchange loses 50% of its traffic in 6 months. That's because developers didn't want to get yelled at anymore to get an answer to a question. They just wanted to put it into an AI bot and get the response back and move on with their lives. I certainly understand the impulse. We are going to ride that wave as well because we take the intimacy and the experience and the passion of a developer advocate or a product expert, and we put it in the box on the screen and make it on demand, just in time. I have a question, here's the answer. It's in video. It's just easier. We're hoping to capture a lot of that curve. We also use AI to make adjustments to the video and to the audio component so that we can go faster without having to reshoot anything. But from a developer perspective, what you're going to see is the same fundamental commitment to trying to do a good job, trying to do it really fast, trying to build cool things, and try to learn. What's next? How do I stay ahead of the curve? How do I play with different environments and different sandboxes to get better at my craft?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everything you said, and uh, there are some people who believe that the software developer job will become extinct soon, will cease to exist because of AI, like it will take over. Uh, I don't,
That's simply
I don't,
untrue.
yeah, I don't believe that either. There are still would be people needed to maintain this, LLM models, to build integrations, to bring in more products, because LLM itself, it's just a piece of technology, useful tool that you can leverage and should leverage for your efficiency. But I don't think it's something that's gonna replace us. But
I
who
mean,
knows?
I can't imagine a world in which the specified skill of being able to predict the future and the art of building a path toward it could be replaced by the computer that was coded by the person whose job is being replaced. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I see. Um, and as we're coming to the end of our conversation, I probably have the last question to you. Considering your journey and the lessons learned along the way, your career, and then you becoming a CEO and running growing company, what advice could you offer to aspiring tech entrepreneurs in the space, maybe in the space of regulations, or maybe just in general?
I think that I'd offer the same advice to any CEO, regardless of their space and probably regardless of their experience, which is that the right tool at the right time for the job is the key to success, and that the force of will or the blind faith or the ambition that brought you to that position is not going to keep you there. That you have to continuously evolve and trust people who have a different approach. Be part of the solutions, but mostly don't ever be part of the problem. Let go of the thing that you thought would be the key first. Like opinions that are loosely held are the most valuable, right? Work hard for them, build them, put them up on a shelf when you need to, but take them down and throw them in the trash when they don't work anymore. There's a tremendous amount of value in the humility of trusting the people around you.
Yeah, can't agree more. Can't agree more for sure. And like you often can hear or read about that the company is limited to the extent as the personality of their leadership is limited. So I personally found this like very true. Okay, so Jake, do you have anything to share with the audience as the last comment?
I would love any of your viewers to go to dataprotocol.com, sign in. All the content is free, and let me know what you think. Particularly if you're a software engineer or you run developer teams, jake@dataprotocol.com or at Jacob M. Ward on Twitter. I would love to get your thoughts. People think that I'm crazy for giving out my email like that, but the truth is, getting feedback is absolutely critical to the next round of innovation for our features and the way that we deliver stuff for a very mercurial audience who loves to tell us when we've done something wrong.
Great. Thank you. We'll put all those links to the comments to that video. And thank you so much, Jake, for interesting and fruitful conversation. Have a good rest of your day.
It
Bye.
was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.